Rule number 4. Become a voracious consumer of content. Thomas Stanley, author of the best-selling book The Millionaire Next Door, did a series of interviews with self-made millionaires and found some rather interesting information about their content consumption habits. The self-made millionaires he interviewed tended to not watch much primetime television. They did not know who got kicked off the island or who is sleeping with whom on Grey's Anatomy, but they do read one non-fiction book per month on average. I am certainly not saying that reading a non-fiction book every month will guarantee that you will have entrepreneurial success and become a millionaire. It does, however, demonstrate the reality that people who build and run successful business are lifelong learners. The value of lifelong learning. Entrepreneurs who have had a significant amount of success recognize that there is more going on in their industry and in the wider business world than what they actually know. They know that the world is constantly changing, new information is being updated, and ideas are developing that could have significant, tangible impacts upon their businesses. These entrepreneurs accept that there could be critical pieces of information that could change their businesses that they have not learned yet. Unfortunately, people do not know what things they do not know. In order to uncover these pieces of game-changing information, really successful entrepreneurs embark on a lifelong journey of continuing education and become better entrepreneurs and more well-rounded people as a result. Understanding your learning style. There are a lot of different ways that lifelong learning can happen. Do you know how you learn best? You may not be much of a reader and are not interested in committing to reading a non-fiction book every month, but you can listen to business podcasts, read trade magazines, listen to audiobooks, audit university classes, watch relevant documentary, and take online courses through organizations like Udemy and Coursera. It is very important to recognize the ways that you learn best and modify your content consumption habits accordingly. If you are an oral learner, consider listening to business podcasts and audiobooks from services like Audible or Audiobooks. If you are the type who learns by doing, you might benefit from taking hands-on community college courses or professional training workshops in your industry. Of course, if you are the type who likes to read, there are millions of non-fiction books you can choose. The key is to identify how you learn most effectively and consume content using the mediums that suit you the best. Personally, I do not have a terribly long attention span. I cannot force myself to sit down and read for 2 hours at a time. But I have learned that I can read in 20-minute chunks as a part of my morning routine every day. I discovered that I can listen to several hours worth of podcast and audiobooks and not get tired of listening. I also do quite well in academic settings and audit a course from the local seminary or a local university at least once per year. In my journey as a lifelong learner, I will read anywhere from 50 to 75 books each year and listen to a couple of dozen different podcasts on a weekly basis. If you do not practice the habits of a lifelong learner yet, get started today. But be realistic. The books that you read and the podcasts that you listen to will not result in immediate breakthroughs for you and your business. But your knowledge base will be solidified and you will gain insight over time. and every now and then you will find the needle in the haystack and you will uncover something that will change the way you run your business for the better. For example, my business had been entirely reliant on advertising revenue prior to 2011. Several of the podcasts I listened to then and now stress that the most valuable asset a business can have is an email list, and the best way to have an internet business with long-term sustainability is to build an audience of people who you communicate with on a regular basis. Based on this advice, I started offering a daily newsletter on my financial news websites, which led to the creation of Analyst Ratings Network. The tension between learning and doing. There is a tension at play between learning to become a better entrepreneur and actually growing your business. While it is essential to be a lifelong learner if you are going to be a successful entrepreneur, do not convince yourself that reading the latest business book from Seth Godin or Jim Collins counts as working on your business. If you read several business books and subscribe to a dozen business podcasts but do not actually get around to working on your business, you have not gotten anywhere. Carve out time in your day for both learning and doing. Consumption of educational business content will become the fuel for your entrepreneurial activity, but do not mistake the process of consumption for activity itself. Action steps. Determine the type of learning that is most natural to you. Commit to reading one non-fiction book per month or subscribing to 2 or 3 business podcasts. Ask your business connections what they read and recommend.